staying at? He said, yes, this is the female tent. This is the only female tent we have. But don't worry, you'll be fine. I was like, okay, so is there any fan? Because it was hot. I've never experienced such hot weather. He's like, no, we don't have a fan, but kind of leave the tent open from the back part. No, don't worry, nobody's gonna come. Just leave it open so it can air out. And I'm like, okay, I'll just deal with it. And then he's like, yeah, don't worry. And there's the prison is on the other side of the tent. And at that time, I'm like, are you serious? And I asked him if there's another female. He said, no, you're the only female in the entire FOB, Fort Operating Base, because that was FOB Marja. And then he said, no, you're the only female. If you need anything else, you know where to find me. And I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to find you? Like, I don't even know how to got here, how I got here to begin with. And he said, just in case, if they didn't tell you, make sure that if you do use a light, it has to be the red light. And he asked me if I have one. And luckily I bought one in Camp Leatherneck, because they told us what we can and can't do. The female Marines told me there that was in charge of female engagement team. And I showed him the light. He said, yes, this is good to go. And he's like, if you have any questions, I was like, no. He's like, there's no food, there's nothing until tomorrow. So unless you want MREs, I'm like, no, I'm fine right now. I just wanted him out of the tent because I just needed a moment to myself. And after he left and my tent completely turned pitch dark, me being in that tent by myself, knowing that on the other side there's a prison, there's detainees, I'm the only female in the entire COB. There's no other females. And it hit me like, okay. And that's when I actually had my first nervous breakdown. My first time that I've ever cried throughout my whole process. I just sat down and I started sobbing and crying. And there was no way for me to turn back. I was in it and I wanted to go for it. And at that time, it's just, I almost was like, okay, what do I do? Should I go through this? Should I not go through this? Do I want to go back and give up? Or do I just push myself and see if it gets better after this? But that was my breaking moment, the night by myself.
What got you out of it? Just fell asleep, or?
I cried myself to sleep, pretty much. I cried myself to sleep. It was warm and I was hungry. I had to use the bathroom. But I couldn't do anything because at the time I was just thinking too hard what I need to do. Should I push myself or should I not? I was just contemplating in my own head about the whole process. But then, the motivation that I had, the drive, what I had and why I was there, I was like, no matter what, until I lose a limb, I gotta move myself. I gotta just push myself through whatever I can face. So, and I felt a little comfortable around the Marines. I didn't feel threatened in any which way. Granted, it was scary to know that I'm the only one in the tent and I have no idea who is who and what is. I had no idea. So that was really scary. Scarier than seeing the Taliban's.
And the Taliban prisoners, did they get exercised at all, or? I
didn't. I had no idea. Like, I was not even because it was kind of it was not a tent. It was pretty much like a compound that they kept them in, and that had rooms. And they actually had 2 Marines guarding them from the outside. And inside, I had no idea how many Marines, because my job was not to deal with the
You just wouldn't see them walking around camp at all?
No, never. I had no idea like how many were in there because they were just so secluded. It was kind of like hush hush. Nobody knows they're inside rooms somewhere. But knowing that they're there kind of just uncomfortable.
What year was that?
2010.
2010. What were your main duties there?
Translate word by word, make sure that the Marines kind of educate them a little bit, not really, but kind of tell them the differences about the culture a little, to my knowledge. I would do my best just to kind of explain it to them, like this is what they do, understanding the culture, but I guess would be helpful. But my job was mainly to translate, to kind of be the person that translates the words from the Marines to the locals and from the locals to the Marines. Of course, not changing anything about the words that gets translated.
Right.
Kind of translate word to word. If they're cussing, if they're saying anything, then I got to translate that.
So you'd be doing that between the men and the Marines?
Yes.
And what about the women? Did you often go out and meet with them?
Our main job was to engage with females. The female local population. So we did a lot. We would go and try to talk to them, going inside, and we would have to literally take out our Kevlar and show them our hair, like we're females. so they feel comfortable because they don't know if we're females or men, even though we're smaller in structure, but they didn't know. Especially some of the Marines, because some of the Marines, even though they were female, they couldn't tell that they were female.
Right.
So they would just go and talk to their females in hearts and mind, talk to them, see how they're doing, how their kids doing, how's their medical.
How willing were they to talk? Were they open and friendly?
At the beginning, they were kind of really quiet, just like staring at us, mainly staring at me because I knew the language, and they would just be looking at me with curious eyes, like, what is she doing with them? Like, should we trust her? Should we not trust her? She does speak our language, but she's dressed in their uniform, and they're walking in our rooms with the guns, because we had, we were surrounded with weapons.
Yeah.
The Marines had weapons, so with questionable looks we would get, and some of them would talk to us very comfortably, like moving close to us and trying to observing our clothes, our hair, maybe or whatever else we have on. Even though I was in a war zone, I did wear my nail polish. Those are the little things that kept me happy throughout the whole thing. So I did my nails. And they would look at my nails to see why, the nail polish, because they were like, that's interesting, why do you change the color? So anything that would start the conversation and make them feel a bit comfortable, anything that has to do with being a woman.
Right.
So.
Let's see, was your base ever targeted by fire at any of the bases you were at?
Yes. We would hear Bagram, and when I was getting processed throughout the whole thing, Bagram was getting hit by rockets all the time. I remember being in Kandahar once, and a tent that I was staying in with some of the females, another tent that was about 100 feet away got hit by a rocket. And we actually saw that. I wish I would have had pictures of them, but it was pretty scary. So the rocket hit Bagram and Kandahar was always, all the time. In Leatherneck, I didn't hear the camp getting targeted, but I remember one night, I don't specifically remember exactly the date, but I want to say it was about 4 months into, not really 4 months, 5 months into my time with female engagement team, Cop Tibet got attacked actually, where the cop was under attack. We were getting fired from a different corner. I didn't know because I was using the bathroom, and as I came in, all I hear is like Marines running around the cop because we were under attack, and I didn't know what to do. I literally, I went to our room. My female Marines were not there, and so I was like, what do I do? Like, what is my job when it comes to this? Do I have to keep myself safe? And our room, the female room, was right next to a wall that separated us from the local. So my room was right here, and there was just like a wall, and then that's the outside world. And there I am in the room by myself, and I was like, okay, so I think I should not stay in this room just in case. Regardless of hearing all these shots and fire, I have to crawl out of this room and try to at least make it to the main area where the commander, and at least somewhere where I'm in the middle of the whole thing, not just be by myself, because I have no weapon. I have nothing to protect myself with. And that's when I literally had to crawl out, got on the floor, started crawling, and left the room and made it to the middle area where I know that there was Marines, and they were trying to figure out what to do with the attack that was happening at the moment.
Imagine they repelled the attack and it ended.
They were getting attacked from pretty much all the areas. They were hearing pop shots as there were Taliban's attacking from different areas, from what I remember. But no Marines got hurt or anything like that on that night. Thank goodness. Yeah. But, the attack lasted for about, I want to say, half an hour. Half an hour to an hour.
And it was all, no rockets being fired, it was all...
No rockets, it was all they call it pop shots, I think. Just regular.
Did you have any real close calls when you were over there?
Yes, I did. My first major mission ever. I want to say the first patrol that I did with the female Marines, I actually have pictures of them. I looked at myself. You can tell that was my first one too, because I was embarrassed, kind of a thing, because I felt so uncomfortable because everybody was staring. That's the translator. And I was looking down, and I wasn't even interacting with anybody because that was my first patrol ever. The second time that we actually went out, it was a mission. It was a major mission because it was election time around the area in Marja where we were. And so our job was to go for it was a 2-day mission to go out and just really go from point A to point B, kind of let the locals know that we're here, go to vote, we're here to protect you, we're here to help you through the whole process. So that was our job. So
were you walking or in?
We were walking.
Yeah.
Most of my missions had to do with foot mission most of the time. We were lucky to get convoys. And so so we did the mission the day 1. The day 2, we were actually coming back, and that's when.
So you slept in the village that night?
No, so we actually had the cop had like small little not really operating base, but small little sections where they had like a platoon of Marines sitting.
Okay.
And so we were in one of those areas to kind of push out. So we spend the night there. We would go out, push in the morning, do what we need to do for like 8-10 hours, whatever, and then come back, spend the night, and then go back again the next day. So this is the second day, us doing the job and coming back to our base. And we were walking on this dirt road, and that's when I actually heard shots very, very, fairly close. I could even hear I could see the ground, kind of the dirt, like moving from the floor. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, we're getting shot at. Like I turned around to look to see who's there. I don't see anybody standing. The only person that was standing was me. Thank God I'm short.
Yeah.
And then that's when I see the female Marine. The female Marine is like, get down now. And that's when I just slowly put myself down to the ground. And that was one of the closest call that I can remember that, me standing, I even though they tell us in the briefs, like when you do that, you just jump. But when that happens in reality, you're not thinking straight. I wasn't thinking straight. I wasn't thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to get shot. Like, I was like, what's going on? Where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Instead of just jumping down. So that was a big lesson for me to learn. And that's when I slowly got myself down to the ground and I just laid flat until I was told to get up by the Marines.
What do you feel like you accomplished during your time there? Anything specific that?
I actually feel like I've accomplished, I know I've done my part. To this day, I know the Marines, when the Veteran Days come, some of them are my friends, and I let them know Happy Veterans Day. And I feel like without me, they could have not done their job. Because without me, they could have just gone there, did a bit of, hand gestures, maybe halfway understand it, halfway not, and come home. But I feel like I've contributed a lot to the missions that we did because there were times where I was the person that made them feel comfortable, that it's okay, but at the same time, got what we needed to get out to kind of make our Marines be safer. And so without me, they could have not done their job.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've done my part when it comes to contributing to the war in Afghanistan, being the translator.
And the Afghan men, when you translated, how did they look at you?
They didn't look at me like, oh, she's so great. They looked at me as if like with hated eyes, hated looks, like, why is she even part of this? What is she doing here? I felt very uncomfortable.
So they sort of resented talking to you?
Yes, they resented talking to me. When I would try to talk to them, they would not do eye contact. They wouldn't give me any kind of eye contact. They were trying to do the hand gesture, look at other things. But I could tell that I was not welcome around them. Do
you remember anything specific about some of the Afghan women you met? Any good experiences, or you need to